Welcome students for online classes. Today we'll continue with the chapter 3 LPG, that is liberalization, privatization and globalization. In the earlier session we had studied about the backgrounds of economic reforms, that is the negative impacts or the problems which had arisen in the year 1950 to 1990 and this LPG. So because of this, what happened, because of the background or because of the negative impacts or because of the problems which had arisen in the year 1950 to 1990, what happened because of this? Government introduced a new economic policy, that is LPG, that is liberalization, privatization and globalization, which was introduced in the year 1991. Okay. Today in this session we will study about the topic liberalization. So let's know what is liberalization. The meaning of liberalization is giving greater freedom to economic agents or the activities to take their own decisions, and a reduced role for the government is called liberalization. Okay, in the earlier sessions or in the earlier chapter, what did we study? That majority percentage of the role was given to the government, because what the government will do, the government will check on to the nation security or the welfare of the nation. So because of this, what happened, majority of the role was given for the government sector or the public sector. So because of the nation security, what happened, there was no proper development in the economy, as all the decisions or overall control was with the government. So what does liberalization mean? The word liberalization means giving liberty or giving freedom to the economy, or giving freedom maybe to the agricultural sector, maybe the industrial sector, or maybe the service sector. So this is known as liberalization. I repeat, liberalization means reduction in the interference or reduction in the licensing system or in the registration system which was given by the government sector. In spite of that, what happens, the laws or the rules which is being relaxed with the interpretation with the government. So what happens, it was not necessary by to set up any industry or to establish any industry, it was not necessary to go to the government and take the necessary permissions or to take necessary rules and regulations regarding to the industries. So because of this, what happened, because of liberalization, as there was freedom everywhere, as the government didn't interfere so much, so it was very good decision taken by the government, so that everybody in the economy could develop themselves without permitting or without taking any kind of permission with the help of government. So let's know what are the objectives of liberalization. First, as told earlier, removal of government control and licensing. So in the earlier session, in the earlier chapter, sorry, what did we study? We had studied that there was industrial licensing, there was a kind of concessions. So what happened, slowly when the LPG came into picture, what happens, the controlance or the licensing system, or even you can tell the registration system, was slowly removing, or the restriction on those kinds of things was removed. Okay, the next thing is greater freedom was given to the private people to take their own decisions. So what happened earlier, when you had to, if you have an industry, to change the machineries or to change the setup of your industry, what you have to do, you had to take the permission from the government. So when liberalization came into picture, what happened, there was a greater freedom given to the overall economy to take their own decisions and to do all the necessary things by their own decisions, which was one of the positive impact to the economy. The next one is simplification in the procedure of imports and exports. So what happened, how the simplification made? Earlier there was a greater tax to be paid, there was import export duties. So because of this duties, what happened, it was very difficult to transport the goods, to send the goods from one country to another, or import or to buy goods from one country to another. So because of the liberalization, what happens, the percentage of the tax to be transferred from one place to another was reduced drastically. And lastly, the restriction in the movement of goods and services was also removed. So what happened, there was quotas, there was tariff, as we studied in the earlier chapter. What does quotas mean? Quota is for the fixed percentage of the money, or if I send 5,000 amount of goods to the other place, so what happened, based on the rupees 5,000 there was taxes paid. And when I came to tariff, what does tariff mean? Based on the quantity basis. Okay, if I send 10 kgs of cotton to other country, what happens, based on the quantity the a tax percentage is being put. So what happened, the movement of goods also started reducing. So these are the objectives or the positive impacts which happened in the liberalization pattern. Okay, now we'll study on to the reforms or the changes which happened, which was the reforms which was made in the year 1950 to 1990, sorry. What changes happened for that reforms, and which new reforms were established, or which new reforms which were given by the government to the economy, to what percentage the liberalization happened to the economy. So let's know about that. So the first thing is deregulation of industrial sector. So first, what does the word deregulation means? It means the elimination of government rules and regulations. So taking out the removal of restriction from the government, or the controllance of the government, is known as deregulation. So what it means, deregulation of industrial sector. So what happens in industry? Basically you produce things, the raw materials will be processed into the finished goods. So this particular process happens in the industrial sector. So with the help of this deregulation of industrial sector, what was the main objective? The main objective was to increase the efficiency and production. Increase the efficiency how? By giving the training programs to the employees, by giving them the proper knowledge or the skill. And what happens to the production? Once the people or the labor are done, or they have a proper knowledge, or once they have the proper skill to maintain a machinery, what happens? Automatically the production process will also increase. So this is the objective of deregulation of industrial sector. So let's know what were the reforms made under the industrial sector. First one, it is about the abolition of industrial licensing. Earlier, what did we study? Earlier, in the sense, in the earlier chapter, we had studied about the industrial licensing. That is, the whoever set up the industry, they need to take permission with the government. So now what happens, because of the liberalization thing came into picture, because of that what happened, there was abolition or removal of the industrial licensing, which were applied to all the industries except the security and environmental concern industry. Why? Because security comes to the defense system and the place where the pharmaceutical or the medical. So except all those things, what happens, the other industries which maybe which makes the biscuits, maybe which makes the machineries, maybe which makes the cars, so all these kinds of industry were taken out of the industrial licensing system. So this was one of the positive thing. Why? Because it was not necessary for the industrial process to go and stand for a hours to wait for the street to set up, or to wait for the permission for a long particular hours. So it was very time consuming, and because of this liberalization program, what happened, it was one of the positive impact for the people in the economy. And next, what happened in the industrial sector? Only 3 industries are reserved for public sector. Those are the railways, defense and the atomic energy. And what happened earlier when I had taught in the Eve of Independence, what happened, there was only 17 industries were set up at that particular point of time. So nowadays the increasing, there is industrialization, but what happened when we go back to 1950 or 1947 or 1973, what happens, there was only limited percentage of the industries. So what happened when the liberalization came into picture, there was decrease in the industrial licensing, even there was decrease in the controllance by the government to the particular industrial sector. Only 3 major sectors were, 3 major industries were under the government. Those are the defense, atomic and the railways. Other than that, the whole sector, or the whole, maybe agriculture, maybe when it comes to industry, what happens, majority of the industries were not under the control of the government. So it was one of the greater help for the people to set up their industries. So next, what happened next, there was de-reservation of production areas. So what happens, what kind of production areas? When I come to an industrial sector, what happens, there will be cottage industry, there will be small scale industry, there will be medium scale industry, there will be large scale industry. So when they came to the small scale industry, what happened, there was increase in the protection given to the small scale industries, which in spite of that, which started increasing the growth of the economy. So what happens earlier, when there was public sector or when there was government, overall decision could be taken only by the government. So when we come to the liberalization pattern, or when we come to the removing the controllance by the government, what happened? The people could make their own decision, they could produce their own products. So because of this, what happened? They earned more and more profit, which was one of the better thing for the economy, and even the better thing for the individual person as well. So because of this, what happened? It increased the growth or the developmental activity of the economy also. The next one is the expansion of production capacity. So the production capacity is basically or mainly based upon the market forces. Now which are the market forces? The market forces are demand and supply. Only when there is demand for the product, what happens? There will be supply. Only when there is a proper demand for the product, what happens? There will be production process also going on. Where will the production process will start? The production process will start in the industries. So which have, what will happen? This will have a greater expansion to the industrial sector when there is proper products to be produced. Or what happens when you for example, I'll give an example, but I want to produce biscuits. So in spite of this, what happens? The government will not give me the permission to produce biscuits. In spite of that, I opt maybe to produce chairs or any sofas. So at this particular point of time, what happens? There will be no proper interest, there will be no proper profit in the marketing procedure also. So what happens? Once there will be liberalization, once there will be no controllance of the government, what happens? Automatically, whatever decision you take into your life, you can do in a better way. So this is one of the expansion of the industrial licensing, which was taken under the liberalization pattern. Okay, this was about industrial sector. And the second one is the financial sector reforms. Financial sector in the sense, basically the banks giving the loans to the end sectors, that may be the agriculture, maybe the finance, maybe the industrial sector, or maybe the service sector. So what happens? Liberalization in the restriction on banks. So what happened? There was no restriction or there was no controllance by the government. Earlier, what happens? RBI, that is Reserve Bank of India, was a apex body. It is not only was, it is. Still now, what happens? Reserve Bank of India, RBI, is the apex body or the main body for all the banks which is situated inside India. So what happens? All the there was earlier, when we compare nowadays to earlier, what happens? The RBI used to control all these banks. RBI used to tell only these kinds of these percentage of the loans you need to provide, only these percentage of the savings could be given to such kind of people, and only this percentage of the credit facility could be given. So later on, when there was liberalization, when there was freedom, what happened? RBI started helping all these industries or all these banking facilities. So what happened? There was change in the economical structure. When there was controllance, what happened? There was no proper growth. But when there was freedom given, or when RBI started helping the banks to do this particular way in this, so that the training or the campaigns was given to this bank sector, so what happened? There was a positive impact came to the economy. So this was removing the restriction and giving the help to the banking sector. And next, what happened? Establishment of new private banks. So earlier, what happened? As everything was under government control, even the government wanted only the government banks to be situated in the economy. So when there was liberalization, what happened? Automatically, there was private banks started establishing in the economy. And the next one is foreign banks to operate in India. So what the government used to do, as the government used to think that as my economy is not that efficient to compete with the foreign area or with the foreign banks or with the foreign industries, what happened? Our government used to protect us. So by this, what happened? By this, the people of the economy or any sectors of the economy didn't open up, as there was welfare, as there was money. The poverty level also was in a greater extent. That greater extent in the sense, the poverty level was taken out. So because of this, what happened? There was a lot of protection. Even there was a spoon feeding done by the government. So because of this, what happened? There was no opening up of the individuality, or there was no opening up of the industrial sector or any agricultural sector. So because of this, what happened? There was kind of restriction with the particular people or any particular sector. But what happens, once there was liberalization, once there was freedom, what happened, people thought that even we can compete with other countries, even we can compete with the other banking structure. So by this what happened, when there was good planning made, when there was, as I told earlier, there was 5-year plan also. So by this, all this planning process, what happened, it was a positive impact for the economy to open up their business or to open up their branches in the other sectors or in the other places also, which was one of the positive impact which was given by the liberalization. So the next one is about the liberty given to commercial banks to open up the branches. So okay, so in our economy there is only one central bank, that is RBI, and all the commercial banks, maybe when I come to Syndicate Bank, Canara Bank, and the State Bank of India, and any kinds of banks, all these are the commercial banks, maybe Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, HDFC, all these are commercial banks. There is only one central bank, that is RBI, Reserve Bank of India, which helps all the commercial banks. So when the liberty was given, so what happened there, for example, in Madikeri there is, I tell that there is only one SBI main branch, okay. So at this particular point of time, overall the overall people should come to only this particular bank, maybe from Kushalnagar, maybe from Virajpet. So at this particular point of time, what happened, it was very difficult for the people to travel along to come only to regarding meet about this banking sector. So at this particular point of time, when liberty came into existence, what happened, the setting of branches in overall places, it was helpful or it was very needful for the people, so that the traveling process or even the any help which could be taken from the bank, which was easier. So what happened, when liberty which was given to the bank system, the setting of the branches all over the country was easier and helpful. Next one is increasing in the foreign investment. Now what does foreign investment mean? Foreign investment means the foreigners or the foreign people investing in our current economy. Why? The basic thing, they want profit, they will need money. So because of this, they invest in our current economy, which will be one of the positive thing for us. Why? When the money incomes or when there will be inflow of money to the economy, what happens, there will be a positive development to the economy also. So this is also one of the positive impact under the financial sector. And lastly, under financial sector, the raising funds within and in abroad countries. So what happened, when you want to give permission to any kinds of people, when you want to invest in something, what is the basic criteria when you want to invest in any one particular sector or in any one particular country? The basic thing is you need returns, you need profit in return. So because of this, what happened, you invest. So raising funds and giving the money in spite of getting the profit, it is one of the positive thing which happened because of the liberalization. So these are the financial sector reforms. The next is the tax policy or the fiscal policy. First, let's know what is fiscal policy. The income and expenditure policy of the government is known as fiscal policy. Maybe to what extent you earn income, to what extent you spend. For example, if I get 10,000 as salary, what happens? Half of the money, maybe you need to pay your insurance, you need to pay your house maintenance, you need to pay for food. So by this, what happens, majority of the, say 9,000 will be spent on this, only 1,000 will be there with you. So this is the income and expenditure policy, is known as the fiscal policy. So this fiscal policy is also known as the tax reforms. Now let's know what tax reforms mean. There are two kinds of tax meaning, that is direct tax and indirect tax. The first tax meaning is direct tax. What does direct tax mean? The taxes levied means imposed, okay. Taxes levied or imposed on the income and wealth of the individuals is called as direct tax. So what is the tax percentage on the income earned? So if you earn 50,000 per month, I'll give you an example from the beginning. If you earn 49,000 per month in a year, what happens? There will be no tax structure. So what happens, once you earn 50,000 is the basic money to pay tax monthly. Okay, I am talking about monthly basis. So 50,000 if you earn in a month, based on that what happens, yearly you need to pay tax. And in the same way what happens, it is normal or it is necessary for the wealth you need to pay tax. So this is the taxes levied. So this is known as direct tax, because directly you get salary, directly you stay in your home or you work in any kind of agricultural process. So this is the wealth and income. When wealth and income comes into picture, the taxes paid on that, that is the direct tax. And the next thing and the main thing is, direct tax are those tax where tax burden cannot be transferred to others. How it cannot be transferred to others? I'll give example. When you earn salary, I earn per month 1 lakh salary, okay? So at this particular point of time, will I give my money to neighbors or will I give my money to others? No, right? I will be using my own money. So this is the thing. When you cannot transfer your wealth, when you cannot transfer your salary to other person, you can't even transfer your tax to other person. You need to pay your own tax, okay? This is about the transferment of tax. And the last thing and the main thing is the tax evasion. Now what does this tax evasion means? You will be earning 1 lakh per month. What happens? You need to pay a certain percentage of the tax to the government. So at this particular point of time, the non-payment of tax, even in spite of having so much of money in you and not paying the tax to the government yearly, this is known as tax evasion. Okay, when what happens when yearly you won't pay the tax, when the bundle up or pooling the tax into one particular place, this will lead to tax evasion. Now let's see what are the reforms happened in the direct tax. Only one thing happened in the direct tax reform, that is decrease in the tax percentage, which encourages the savings of the people. So what happens? I'll give example. For 1 lakh, there was a tax percentage of 12%. At this particular point of time, what used to happen? You had to pay a tax of 12,000. So what happened because of this? There was a decrease in the percentage of the tax. So I take an example of 8%. Okay, so how much will be the tax for 1 lakh? The tax will be 8,000. So the 4,000 that earlier I had taken 12%, which was 12,000. Later on I took a percentage of 8, which is 8,000. The difference between this particular tax system, that is the 4,000 rupees, is the savings which you can save or you can spend for your own satisfaction. So this was the reforms which was given under liberalization. Now we finished with the direct tax. We'll talk about the indirect tax. The taxes levied or imposed on goods and services are called as indirect tax. You import things, you export things. At this particular point of time, what happens? You produce things also, so there will be a fixed percentage of the tax. So as I told earlier, import duties, export duties, these are all the taxes paid due to the goods transferring from one place to another. So as told earlier, that is under direct tax, what happened? You couldn't transfer the tax to other person. But here in indirect tax, what it is like you can transfer the tax burden to other person. Now how is it? Now you will be set up in a industry. There will be two person with you, you and your partner, Mr. A and Mr. B. So what happens? I need to transfer or I need to give the export things to other country, maybe like 10,000 pens. Okay, I will take an example of 10,000 pens. At this particular point of time, what happens? When I transfer 10,000 pens, there will be a high percentage of the tax. So when I divide my product, as I had taken 10,000, now I will divide my product with Mr. A and Mr. B, that is 5,000 and 5,000. At this particular point of time, I can transfer my percentage of the tax burden to my partner. So this is transferring the tax burden or reduction in the tax burden to other person. So this is known as indirect tax, where the taxes which is based on the goods and services, and the direct tax was about the income and the wealth of the person, that is the taxes levied on the income and the wealth of the person. So what were the reforms taken under indirect tax? First is the provision of national market. What happened? It was very easier for the people to do these kinds. When there are many partners and when there is bulk order, what happens, you can divide your products with many partners and you can transport it to other places. So and even one of the major thing happened, that is the introduction of GST in 2017, that is goods and service tax, where at this particular point of time what happened, there was many tax slabs based on the product the tax was given. So I'll let you know the tax slabs, that is 0%, 2%, 4%, 8%, 12% and 28%. These are the 6 tax slabs which was given by the government. So this is a segregation. So what happens when you go to restaurant, that is big restaurant, maybe 3-star, 5-star restaurant, at this particular point of time, with the food eaten or with the consumption of the food, you need to pay the tax of 8%. When you come to the consumer durables, you need to pay a percentage of 4%. So this is the tax slabs which was given by the government, which was one of the more helpful thing for the economy or for our particular development. So this was about the tax reforms, which we studied about the direct tax and even about the indirect tax. And the next thing, we had studied 3 things: industrial sector, financial sector and the tax reforms. Now the fourth one is foreign exchange. Now what happens under foreign exchange? The deliberate reduction in the external value of rupee against foreign currency is called as devaluation of rupee. First thing, what is foreign exchange? You exchange your money to your foreign or abroad. For example, I exchange Indian rupee to US dollars. At this particular point of time, what is the money structure for $71 or 72 point something? So that is equal, sorry, I repeat, for rupees $1, in Indian rupee it is 71 to 72 rupees, which is one of the major amount. So this is known as foreign exchange, where you exchange your rupee with the abroad, maybe dollars, maybe pounds, maybe yen, maybe dirham. So this is a differentiation that is known as. So what was the problem? So the problem was a devaluation of rupee. Now what does this devaluation of rupee? The deliberate reduction in the external value of rupee. Now as told earlier, what happens? $1 which was equal to 72 rupees of our Indian rupee. So when I take into consideration this devaluation of rupee, I'll give you example. $1 which will be equal to rupees 100. So there is a major difference from 71 rupees to 100 rupees. This is the devaluation of rupee. Deliberate reduction in the external value of rupee, where our rupee value will decrease, where the pound or maybe yen, maybe dollar, rupee will increase. So this is the difference between the foreign exchange. So because of the devaluation of rupee, what problems had arisen? Because of this devaluation of rupee, what happened? There was reduction in exports and increase in the imports. So when there is reduction in exports and increase in the imports, what problems will arise? I'll give a first situation. When exports are decreased, okay, when exports are decreased, what will be the situation of the economy? There will be loss of our country. How there will be a loss of a country? Because of the limited inflow of money. I tell you, when you export the goods, you sell the goods. When you sell the goods, what will you get in return? You get money in return. So when exports is reduced, what will happen? There will be no proper inflow of money. So which will be the loss of the economy. So this was about reduction in the exports. Now I'll come to the increase in the imports. Now what is this imports? When you import something, the other country will sell something. So when you import, what do? You buy things and give money in return. So what happens when imports are increased? There will be a loss of a country. Why? Because when you purchase something, you give money in return. So there will be a major percentage of the money which will be given to the abroad countries, which is one of the negative thing for our economy, which will result in the balance of payment imbalance. What is balance of payment? There will be no proper income and expenditure of the economy, that is known as balance of payment. There will be no proper balance in the economy, which comes under the payments. So this is known as a devaluation of rupee. So because of this, what happened? What reforms came into economy? First thing, reforms which was taken is led to the increase in exports and decrease in the imports. So what happened? When there was increase in the imports, there was inflow of money increase. When there was decrease in the imports, outflow of the money started to decrease. So this was one of the positive thing which resulted in the solving balance of payment problems. What we had, because of devaluation of rupee, there was balance of payment imbalance. Later on, what happened? When the reforms came into picture, there was the problems which was solved because of the balance of payment. Okay, this was about the liberty given or the freedom given to the economy, which was one of the positive thing. And the last reform under liberalization is the trade and investment. So what is trade? Your trade means buying and selling of things. What is investment? You invest, you put your money in one particular place so that you get money in return, you get profit in return. So what happened? Under this trade and investment, what were the I can tell as the things happened earlier and with the reforms. In the earlier thing, we had studied about the international competitiveness. That is, we started competing with the international, that is with the abroad countries, maybe with their banks, maybe with their products, maybe with the quality, maybe with the quantity. So because of this trade process, what happened? There was a proper competition with the abroad countries. Later on, what happened? Because the reforms made in the industrial sector, industrially, there was increase in the industrial production, which was one of the positive thing in the economy. And even what happened? There was foreign investment and technology. Just now we studied about the foreign exchange. At that particular point of time, what happened? There was increase in the exports and decrease in the imports, which was one of the positive impact which gave the increase in the foreign investment. So what were the reforms taken under trade and investment? First thing, what happens under trade? You sell and buy things. At this particular point of time, when sell and buy things, you need to pay taxes, you need to pay export import duties, or maybe the tariff, quotas, any kinds of names. So this thing was removed, or there was reduction in the trade barriers, that is maybe the any kinds of taxes paid on the goods, any kinds of taxes paid on the quantity of the goods. So this was removed or reduced. Next, as that the removal and reduction of tariff rates. And the next one was removal of licensing producers for imports. So what happened? When you export import thing, there is a middleman, a person named clearing house, or a office named clearing house. In this office, what do? You give your proper details or the billing details which you send to the other countries, which you export your goods. At this particular point of time, what happens? You need licensing for exporting importing duties. Why the licensing is necessary? Because of the illegal things happening in the economy. Because of this, what happens? There should be proper licensing. So if there is no licensing, there will be there will be a trade barriers, there will be increase in the duties. So what happens? This particular licensing were removed. So because of this, what happened? There was freedom for the people to transport goods from one country to another. And lastly, as told earlier, the export import duties to increase the competitiveness with the international market. So as told earlier, regarding the quality, regarding the quantity, regarding the production, what happened? Because of this, even removal of import export duties, there was one of the positive thing to compete with the international people. So which was one of the positive thing which came under liberalization. So these are the 5 reforms which was taken into consideration by the government. So who took initiative? That is in the year 1991, Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao and the Finance Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh took initiative and took all the necessary things under liberalization, or I can even tell took all the reforms into consideration and did, which were the 5 reforms taken into consideration. First was the industrial sector reforms, second was financial sector reforms, third was tax reforms, fourth was foreign exchange reforms, and finally the trade and investment reforms. So the assignment for today is briefly explain the important areas of liberalization. Okay students, one main thing to be told, that is all the students are not sending the assignment part. So I want everybody to send the assignment. Okay, thank you students.